The 2026 NFL Combine is officially in the books. Did any players show they were worthy of the Cardinals or Eagles' attention?
Next week is also the beginning of NFL free agency. How will the team's decisions affect who they target in the draft? Welcome to Birds Coast to Coast.
You're listening to Birds Coast to Coast. Here's your host, John Clark and Tanner Riddle.
We never can change that intro. I was listening to it on the car today, and I was like, you know what? Like it. No, I love it. Like it may be like something like a year from now where we're listening, like, dang, like that was like our first intro, and like we updated. But I'm like, no. This is quintessential who we are. All right. So
Even
anyway,
after we get like 1 million followers and
yeah,
subscribers and all that, the,
it's
the diehards and the OGs are still going to want to hear that.
Absolutely. It's going to be a trivia question like 7 years from now. Like, hey, like, what did the original intro sound like? What did I say? No, all right. Welcome, everyone, to Birds Coast to Coast. It's your wonderful host, John and Tanner here, coming at you with episode 8. We're here to talk about a lot of different things. We're kind of making our way through the offseason 1 week at a time. Past 2 weeks, we've been talking about the obituaries of both our favorite teams, the Cardinals and Eagles, and now we're trying to begin our off-season conversation and, think about what the future is going to look like for our teams. And it starts with me and Tanner's borderline favorite off-season events. I mean, look, we're draft heads, so like, the draft is always going to be number one, but I think a close second, I think Tanner would agree, is definitely the NFL Combine. Tanner, would you agree it's like kind of your second favorite off-season like event if like free agency doesn't count because it's like a more of a...
I was going to say if free agency doesn't count, then yeah, probably.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much really else going on, so it's not like a huge list of things that are happening. But I would say the combine's pretty cool. And it gets a lot of shtick for like being called the underwear Olympics, and a lot of people say like, it doesn't really translate a lot to the NFL. And I think our job, me and Tanner today, is to convince you that there is an impact in the NFL Combine. So if you're not big Combine guys and you're just sort of like, whatever, I'll see who runs the fastest 40 tomorrow, then stick around. Maybe you'll learn something about the Combine and see, maybe we'll change your mind. So, Tanner, what's, before we jump straight into the Combine, I know there was a little bit of news around the NFL. So you want to kind of fill us in on some of the things that's been happening the past few days?
Yeah, so really all the coaches hirings that's done. Everyone's in place. So there's really not many transactions to go right now because we just did the combine. Next week is the beginning of free agency. But we did get a trade today. The Lions traded running back David Montgomery to the Texans in exchange for a fourth, a seventh, an offensive lineman, and Hall of Fame name, Scruggs, excuse me.
Juice Scruggs. That's what stuck out to me more than anything. Everyone's like a
Right.
4th round pick. I'm like, Juice Scruggs. Like, where'd he come from?
Right.
My goodness. How did that fall through the cracks? How have I never heard like Mel Kiper say, Juice Scruggs? Oh, this guy. like, come on. What a name.
That's a Dan Campbell guy. He's gonna fit.
Oh my gosh. Like, he must have been like, listen, me and Tanner watched every minute of every NFL draft coverage. Like, there is no way that this guy was drafted and we didn't immediately text each other and say, Juice Scruggs. He had to have been an undrafted free agent. I am willing to bet any sort of money that dude could not have been drafted because we would have been on the ball on that one. But no, David Montgomery going for a 4th round pick and, other, assets. Pretty interesting. He's an older.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs. He's eligible for his 5th year option, I believe. So they're gonna pay him big money. So yeah, once you pay Jahmyr Gibbs, that's gonna be pretty tough to have a running back by committee. Yeah, it's not really the way you want to allocate your cap resources. So I felt like we always knew David Montgomery's time was always, on the back nine. He's still a decent player. I think he's only 28 still, and he's kind of always been in a committee, so he doesn't have the same wear and tear. From a Texans perspective, they did trade for Joe Mixon last year.
2 years ago, because he wouldn't play at all last year.
Yeah, 2 years ago. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's interesting to be in the trading for veteran running back market. That's definitely one way to go about it. But they are good players, to be fair. Yeah, so I think it's a, I guess that seems like a price wise, the compensation seems about right.
No, I like him as a player, and I don't really know exactly the situation in the Houston running back committee. I think Woody Marks played pretty well, although I did see there was a meme circulating that he like set the record for the most consecutive games with a blue tent visit without actually getting hurt. So like I guess he's kind of like one of those players that just kind of gets nicked up throughout the game and like ends up missing a few drives and coming back. So maybe like injuries are a concern a little bit for Woody Marks. I mean, he was a rookie last year, so I mean I don't know why else, if you were really behind this running back, why you would feel confident trading for a player and a fourth round pick when like you had a young, cost controlled rookie running back that you gave a lot of volume to last year. So I guess that's kind of down on the Woody Marks dynasty value chart there, but I don't know. I mean, I think they've been kind of doing this with like veteran running backs. I mean, you think Joe Mixon they traded for, they brought in Nick Chubb. So obviously they do have like a propensity to bringing in some like I'm not gonna say over the hill running backs, but definitely okay, yeah, over the hill running backs. I mean, I don't think David Montgomery's super over the
If we're
hill, but
playing a round of golf, they're probably on a hole like 15 or
they're on the
16.
back nine. They're definitely on the
Yeah.
back nine. Chip Kelly would have traded. I think Chip Kelly traded LaShawn McCoy because he tried to convince everyone that like 27 is like way too old for a running back. That was like the meme going around at that point. Like, yeah, Chip thinks that they just fall off a cliff at 27. Then Shady has like 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons in Buffalo, so I guess it's not true. But yeah, David Montgomery, that was an interesting deal. Was there anything else that kind of happened today? Nothing out of the ordinary.
There are a couple cuts. I think the Dolphins are still cutting a couple guys. One of their linemen, Liam Eichenberg.
Yeah,
Um, let's see who else. Marshawn Lattimore got released by the Washington Commanders.
I heard
Uh,
Debo's getting cut too. Debo Samuel. I heard that was
yeah,
that
that
was a
makes
suggestion.
sense. Titus Howard got traded. He got traded to the Browns. So good on the Browns. They finally have an offensive lineman under contract. Did you know like they had like none?
Yeah, I heard they were absolutely decimated.
Yeah, so they traded for him. Graham Glasgow, the center for the Detroit Lions. I think he did he announce retirement?
Was it retirement or they just cut him? I
Or
forget
they,
which
they
one
just
it
cut. They
was.
may have just cut him actually. Okay. So yeah, I mean there are transactions going around. Maybe not the most high profile players, but a couple moves right before the real moves happen next week.
Yeah, I would say this is all just like kind of like roster shedding, kind of getting that easy cap space, easy like, vet minimum, we're moving on from you type situation, kind of and letting the vets kind of like have an opportunity to kind of like get their feet wet in the market and kind of establish their market before next week rolls around. Just if they know they're not going to be in position to be a part of this team, I think this is like the friendly, like, hey, thanks for all your services. We're going to give you that opportunity to kind of go find a next team because we know we just can't keep you here. Kind of like the whole Tyreek Hill situation. And is it true, Tanner? I don't know this for a fact, but is it true that since they've gotten cut now, could they technically sign before next week? Is
Yeah,
that
so if you're getting cut now and you were under contract, you are instantly eligible to sign with another team.
so in the
If
next few
you
days?
are
Yeah, yeah.
if you're in like just a natural free agent and your contract expired, you do have to wait.
Okay. So
So from
any
the player's perspective, there's a little bit of an advantage to go ahead and sign something that like gives you an opportunity to go ahead and get a first bite at the market
so to use your example, Marshawn Lattimore, like he could theoretically sign with anyone any moment, and there'd
any
be no.
second.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that's
Now
kind
I,
of
I
interesting.
I think he tore his ACL or something, so
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
using him as an
But like
example. I mean,
I get your point.
my example, I was going to use him or Tyreek Hill, but meh. Um, but yeah, yeah. So that's kind of honestly the wraparound, and honestly, next week, guys, is going to be such a bigger pod because next week we have a little bit of a delayed schedule, not because we're like technical issues or anything, but because next week is the beginning of legal tampering, which is essentially like we said the start of NFL free agency. So we're going to be able to kind of detail a lot of like day one signings, even though they're not technically signings. It's more just agree to terms, hush hush, elbow elbow type of thing. But we're going to be able to find a lot of like really big first day signings that aren't technically legal until the week later, but they will be reported. And as far as we concerned, 99% of the time they are real. So they'll fall through. They won't fall through. They'll be real unless you're Frank Gore and you're a Philadelphia Eagle in the year 2014, because that was the one time that I remember Frank Gore agreed to terms, and then he ended up not agreeing to terms. So it's not a 100% that the player stays with the team that they agree to terms with, but most of the time they do. So next week we're going to push our pod to Wednesday just to give those the first 2 days of big free agent waves coming, and we're going to have a lot of news to share. So today's going to be primarily combine coverage because frankly we're up against the free agent wall, and yesterday was the completion of the combine. So I feel like today is kind of the best time to kind of talk about the winners, maybe some losers, and just kind of our general tone on like what we think of the combine, both what we used to think about it and where it is kind of today in terms of like how athletes kind of look at it. So Tanner, what was I guess we're just going to jump right into our combine talk. What was your like initial takeaway as like a whole for the combine this year? I already know mine.
Well, I don't know how the takeaway could be anything about other than like how fast they were. It was easily like I think every position recorded the fastest average 40-yard dash, except for the quarterbacks, and they were second.
And there was a quarterback who ran into 4 threes, so
right. Oh man, that is my day 3 project. I would love to get my hands on him. I don't like the talk. I mean, not to get too off on a tangent, but like I don't like trying to convert quarterbacks to tight ends or wide receivers. It just seems like a slap in the face to actual receivers. Like if you're gonna take the guy from Arkansas, right? If you're gonna take him, why not just take a guy who's been playing wide receiver for the last 3+ years?
Yeah, for those who don't know, there's an Arkansas quarterback name, I think like Taylor or Talon Green or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. He ran in the mid 4 threes, which for people who don't follow the combine, anything below 4.40 40s are like truly like blazing speed type players. So the fact that a quarterback who also is like, very physically gifted in terms of his like height, weight, speed on top of just like how fast he is, he was able to run an incredibly fast 40. And what Tanner's trying to say is, those quarterbacks tend to get, miscast, and, coaches kind of say like, hey, why don't you go play wide receiver instead? And that's how you end up with like Antoine Randall Els. That's how you end up with, Mac Hollinses and guys who used to play quarterback in either high school or college, and they get turned into a wide receiver or running back. I think recently there was that guy Denard Robinson from Michigan. Do you remember that guy? He was someone who
running back.
Yeah, very exciting Michigan quarterback. I loved his dreads. And then all of a sudden he just turned into a very middling running back in the NFL. I wouldn't even say middling. He didn't really do much anything at all in the NFL. So it's a shame how they just kind of change positions and disappear. But no, my takeaway was the same, that a lot of guys just, were very, very like, I guess the way I like to put it, very specialized for these specific events. I likened it earlier today while talking with a buddy who the NBA slam dunk contest, basically like where we used to have like stars and everyone doing it because it was such an honor to do it. Now it's like everyone's G League guy who just sits in the gym and just does dunks and like does highlight reel dunks just to see if he can like bring some pub to his team, even though he doesn't play at all on his NBA team. And I don't think it's exactly like that for the combine, but the fact that this like was like the fastest combine ever, and you pair it with the fact that it was, I think you told me, the lowest amount of combine participants ever, and it beat the record by like 20 last year. Didn't you say that?
Yeah, last year was the prior record, and this year it went down an extra about 10%.
It's trending downward. Like it's definitely trended downward in the past, like I would say 5 years. It's just been a steady decline in participants. And the question becomes why? What a lot of teams really see on these days are reasons to overhype a player, but also reasons why you might not want to take a player. It's like it's literally a job interview. I mean, yeah, a lot of players do go to the combine and do like the interviews and do like some like the measurables, but they don't do like the speed drills, or they don't do the on-field workouts or skill drills. They just kind of do what they feel like would best allow their draft stock to stay unharmed. And a lot of times, if you don't do something, it helps you more than if you do something and suck at it. So I remember when the Eagles drafted Devontae Smith, of course, I was excited because I knew he was a potential at whatever pick we had. And I was like, oh, I wonder how fast he is. I can't wait to see. He didn't run the 40. He didn't run. So I was kind of disappointed about that. So I don't know what 40 time he would have gotten, but he doesn't seem super duper fast. But I would imagine that that's probably the reason why he didn't want to run it. He was known as a route runner, a possession guy, volume, amazing college wide receiver. And then he knew he didn't want to run the 40 because what is that going to do? It's going to hurt his draft stock. All of a sudden, a top 10 productive wide receiver in college turns into, he might not be fast enough to be in the NFL.
Well, let me actually, just because he's actually a really interesting case. What was the talk about Devontae Smith going into that combine?
His size. It was his size.
Well, his weight specifically.
It was lack of size, to be honest. It was like 160.
So what do you think he was doing to prep for that? He was waking up at 2:00 in the morning having peanut butter sandwiches. Do you think that's gonna help him with a 40? So
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Imagine Devontae Smith hitting the bench press. That would what would I don't know. I mean, he's a great blocker, so maybe he would do well, but I don't know. It just might be like that guy on Twitter that just crushes his sternum. But yeah, I think players are starting to wake up to the realization that there's inherent risk of just doing poorly. And if you've already done so good on the field and you're just like a stud and you're just known as like a good prospect and you don't really need to show it at the combine. And I think we've had this discussion in the past, Tanner. There's so many like advancements in tech to where like you can get like game speed like times from like film and like those AWS models and next gen stats and stuff like that. Like they don't really need teams, that is, to like go into the 40 at the combine to see how fast they are. There's just so much data available now that you don't really need that to make a decision.
Yeah, like you said, they got like GPS devices built in the shoulder pads. At the end of the day, game speed's what matters because you're wearing shoulder pads, you're wearing all that equipment, you're trying to be evasive because there are no defenders in the 40-yard dash. It's just straight, just a straight line. So yeah, I mean, to me, it's not about how fast can you run a 40-yard dash from point A to point B with zero impediments. I think there's other things that a 40-yard dash says about you, though. Like the 10-yard split is just as important as the actual 40-yard dash. It's an acceleration metric. It's it just says more than just how fast can you run without pads with no one trying to tackle you.
Well, it's interesting because within the 40, I mean, you can hit different speeds at any point in your 40-yard dash. I was seeing earlier that one of the players, I think it was, was it the running back, Jeremiah Love? Even though he ran like a 4.37, 4.36, or something like that. Even though he ran that, he hit speeds within that draft because they were tracking his miles per hour that were comparable to Gibbs or Jahmyr Gibbs, who ran a faster 40 time than he did. So it was by like,
I think it was actually the exact 40.
Yeah,
he did it with like more weight.
Yeah, so within that 40-yard dash, they can eclipse speeds that are quicker than other runners. So and that gives them more information.
Like his top speed was higher than Gibbs, but Gibbs had a quicker 10-yard split.
Exactly,
which is how that works. Like, how do you tell me if one guy's going faster and they ran the same speed? So.
Exactly. So it's just different because of the timing of the 40. Like he might just slow up a little bit and the other guy just reached a faster speed and throttled down, what have you. But I think, I think it's time to really flip to, I guess my current favorite, my favorite, the gauntlet drill. For those who don't know, this is getting really in the weeds with the gauntlet drill. Tanner, how would you explain the gauntlet drill to like, I guess, a listener who may not be like a combine freak like us? Like if you were to talk about it, like what would you say it is? Because I love it.
So it's a wide receiver drill. And I think the point of it is to measure both hand-eye coordination and just ball skills and like how
body
smooth
control
you are.
Yeah.
You start on one end of the field at the 50-yard line, and coach says like hike or hut, whatever. You spin around, catch it, spin around again, catch it, and then you just run straight down the 50-yard line. But you're alternating each way you look, because I think there's a total of like 8 to 10 quarterbacks, about 4 to 5 on each side, just throwing you a pass one at a time, of course.
Peppering you
And
too, like not easy lobs.
no, and again, this is just a hand-eye coordination drill. You run all the way through the 50-yard line, and then the last pass you catch, you cut it upfield, and
Yeah, you keep your feet in, then you cut back upfield. God, I love that drill. I think the only reason I love that drill so much is because I want to do that drill. Like, yeah, but it would be so fun to just do. I know I'd screw it up royally, especially nowadays, but I mean, we don't have 8 dudes that could just throw us a football. Yeah, it actually takes a lot of manpower to like do that, and you need the footballs. I don't know, but there has been getting back to our point. I feel like a lot of scouts have really like hammered home how important those drills are, and in the combine they have so much tape. It's so funny because like they've been doing so much like videoing of the combine over the years that they can like go and find X player's combine performance from 2013. You know what I mean? There's such a treasure trove of data. So they'd show like Puka Nakua doing this drill and saying like, look at this guy, look how straight down the line he is. And for those who don't know, I guess the idea of this drill is not just to catch the football, but the way your body kind of sinks away and towards the quarterback, you want to keep your body and more specifically your feet going down the line without going too far left or right down the path. It's almost like walking a tightrope. And the way that translates to the NFL is because they want to see your body control. They don't want you to be dragged off of a route. They know if you go on that route that you are on that specific line and trying to catch that football. So the idea of staying on the line has been like a very, very important thing. And they'll like put like a line under your like feet that kind of show how squiggly you are, just to kind of highlight just how bad of course I'm sitting there with my chips and dip going, that one sucked. Oh God, that guy.
it was Twizzlers for me.
Yeah, like that guy just screwed up, that was way off the line. But I've noticed that since this has been such a very important drill, or at least a lot of people seem to think it's important, these players have gotten really good at it. Like, I think Tanner texted me like, dude, these guys are not stepping off the line at all. Like, this is insane.
It's like they were on a track.
Yeah. So either one of two things can be true. It means we have a great wide receiver core coming up, or my thought is they're getting coached up. Like, they're getting coached up just in the same way that like a guy can like go find like a sprinting coach to figure out how to increase their 40 time, and it may not even translate to the league at all, just to kind of get like 7/100th of a second better. I think they're going to coaches and being like, hey, like, I want you for these next 3 months, get me to do well in this drill, because it may like help me like 5 to 10 draft spots.
Do they actually clock the gauntlet?
I wouldn't be shocked. I think they would have to, because like if you're running half speed and you're just like not running all the way through and you're waiting for the quarter, like the quarterbacks aren't just going to like wait for you to get to their spot if you go slow enough. Like, that's just too easy. I don't know. I feel like you have to be measuring it.
I mean, it is more impressive the faster you go, I guess, but there's too many other variables, like the quarterbacks, they're actually real quarterbacks, like making these passes. So it's not like like a machine that, spits it out perfectly. When you do the 40, it's just you, right? So I'd hate for, a bad throw of a quarterback to affect a time of mine.
Yeah. And that's so interesting because I always do marvel at just how accurate some of these quarterbacks just make those throws, because they don't show them on the camera when they do this drill. Like, you just see a football just go boom out of nowhere, and then you go boom, other one come out the other side. So they don't show the quarterbacks throwing, which would be kind of a cool angle to see, like from the quarterback perspective, and kind of like see like how he's like threading the needle and hitting him like right in stride, because that's a tough throw. I mean, you hit a guy in stride, I mean, that's not a guaranteed thing to do in the NFL, but
well, it's an important job. You're trying to help these guys, improve their draft stock, and you don't want to be the guy who gets in the way of that.
Yeah, so I really like that combine drill, and there was a couple standouts. Casey Concepcion, he was very, very good at it. He has kind of like the I guess the Twitter video out that's kind of showing that he's like literally just tightrope walking all the way down the 50-yard line, which is crazy. But then I think years ago, like, you'd see dudes who you would think are good players, like Keon Coleman. Like, I don't think Keon Coleman had a really good one, if I remember correctly. Like,
no, I think he had an awesome one.
Oh, okay. So he had an awesome one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can't remember one who just didn't have a great one. Maybe he's just we drafted him. They drafted him. It wasn't good, but no, they do really look for that because the wiggle of that line really shows that they just don't have the body control that they're looking for at the NFL level. All the other combine drills are very like just straightforward. Bench press, vertical jump, broad jump. I mean, it's basically like an Olympics almost. That's why it's got the nickname the Underwear Olympics. I mean, because a lot of these things are just Olympic events, just put on a football field in Indianapolis, which I always find is funny. Is like, why is it always in Indianapolis? Why is it always at Lucas Oil Field in Indianapolis? Do you know that, Tanner? Why is it always at the same place?
My understanding is they have really good infrastructure for it. They have a medical facility right next door, so they can get the results back from MRIs and all that stuff real quick. Good hotels. It's a centralized location, like geographically, like within the country. So, you're not making guys from Miami fly all the way up to Seattle. It's just I think it's just it's got its perks. I mean, I would love to go and find out for myself, but I mean, I hear a lot of people who do go don't want it to change because there is a lot of convenience for it.
Oh, so I guess now we can kind of talk about some of the winners. And a lot of you guys, I mean, me included, didn't know many of these guys before I even saw the combine. I mean, some I did, but a lot of them were just kind of like, oh, like this guy just jumped out of the gym. And to be honest, like this is the time of the year because I understandably, not understandably, but like honestly, I'm not a big college football watcher. So to me, this is like the introduction to a lot of prospects. Like, I do mock draft watching or mock draft reading, paragraph season is a thing for me and reading all those mock drafts. And I see a lot of the top guys and you start scrolling through what your team is looking at and the top 5 players and stuff like that. So you're introduced by those, but the vast majority of players aren't the first rounders, like easily. And it just makes sense. So you're going to want to, know who these guys are. And a lot of the times you figure these people out by watching the combine. A lot of these guys aren't going to be first rounders, but a lot of them improve their stock. And those are going to be the names that are called on the, day 2s, day 3s. Where you're like, oh man, I remember that guy at the combine. Like he really did amazing. He ran a great 40 time. So I guess one of the first guys that comes out to me as like a draft winner, I think the first initial one that really got a lot of pub was Sonny Styles, the linebacker. I believe he's out of Ohio State. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So Sonny Styles was someone who I believe his brother was also at the combine as well. And I think they both ran like sub 4.40s, which I think is just crazy.
Good parenting.
Yeah, good parenting. And at linebacker, I really think it's interesting because they have this data point, or not one data point, but they have this thing called the RAS score. And Tanner, what would you like if you were to explain what the RAS score, like what would you say that is? Like if someone like said,
so
hey,
it stands for relative athletic score.
Yeah.
And essentially what it's trying to tell you is how athletic is a guy based off their combine results relative to their size. So in theory, if you got player A and player B run the same 40-yard dash, but player A is 6 inches shorter and 50 pounds lighter, you technically would be more impressed with the bigger guy running the same speed.
It's just force.
And you carry that across, the vertical jumps, the broad jumps, the shuttle drills, the 40-yard dashes, all of that. And so in this ranking, it's a 0 to 10, 10 being the best.
And how did Sonny Styles do? Didn't he get like a 10?
Surprisingly enough, he did not. He got a 9.99.
No, I thought he had one thing he had to go into to get the perfect
it says
10.
What I'm reading is unofficial, so maybe he did get a perfect. At the end of the day, he's still.
Well, I know what are we looking at? But I did recall like he had like one more drill and he was like in line to be potentially the highest RAS score ever. Like, and
I do think someone has got a 10 before.
Oh, I think so. A lot of these players that like me and Tanner kind of get draft crushes on are guys who score well in the RAS score. Like Nick Emanworry last year was a guy who did really well in the RAS. I know Eagles. It's not like it's the RAS score is funny because it's not an official like NFL funded thing. This is something that I think like someone created on like
So
Twitter.
I think the guy is someone like us who is just a fan at home.
Yeah, and
He
like
made a
now
database.
Now NFL teams are like legitimately using his data, which I think is so cool. And
We
the
get paid
Eagles
for it.
have been shown in the past that like it might not be like 1-to-1, but there's definitely some sort of correlation to like the RAS scores that we take and like how high they are.
Cardinals are very, very much interested in it. Monty loves high RAS score guys.
Yeah. So like if you look at our draft, if you take a look at our draft classes this year, you're going to want to see like exactly where these RAS scores are because typically we draft pretty high RAS guys. Now that doesn't mean they always pan out. I mean, like that's never
trust
like
me, they
the
do.
assumption. No, just because they're gym rats doesn't mean they're going to be football like studs. It's usually not how that works out. I mean, we took guys like Davion Taylor who are just muscle freak linebackers and they just don't know how to play the position. So like you could really, or Sidney Brown, great example, muscle, speed, great hair, flowing down the field, missed assignments, missed tackles, blows up his own players, hurts his penalty, terrible guy, terrible player, not terrible guy. But honestly,
He was a bad guy.
no. Well, honestly, like he is kind of a hothead. Like he's been thrown out of the game before, so I'm not gonna say terrible guy, but he definitely has some like character concerns on the field.
He's just not great.
Terrible guy. No, I like Sidney Brown, but he needs to go. No, I'm just kidding. No, so the RAS score is really cool to keep up with. And it's all like percentile ranking. So like you don't need to be like a 350-pound guy running like a 4.3. Like if you're a 350-pound guy, they score you against all the 350-pound guys. So like if you're a 350-pound guy and you're running like the best 40 time, then yeah, you're going to score really good on the 40 because you did good amongst the other 350-pound dudes. They're not going to score you against the 180 pound dudes that are like running like lightning bolts down the field. That's just not what they do. But RAS is really cool development. Player interviews. I mean, I really feel like you either hear really, really good things from player interviews or really, really bad things about player interviews.
All right, I think I'm good if we were to get rid of them. Here's why. One, they're only 15 minutes per player. Does that sound right? Like they're not long.
Yeah.
And so if you're getting interviewed by every single team, like while each individual interview is pretty short, you're doing like a rapid fire. It's like speed dating, and you're kind of just like going from conference room to conference room. One, that's got to be exhausting mentally. Like you're probably like, okay, like get over it. Like these guys are about to be making millions of dollars. They could do a couple interviews, but there's a lot on the line here. One, you got to get your body right because you're actually going to do workouts. But I just, if I'm on my 25th interview, like,
and here comes the Raiders.
Am I just repeating the same thing I've said 24 times that my agent told me to say, or like my coaches have told me to say? Look, I don't lie in my interviews, but the idea of an interview is to sell yourself and to give teams a reason to want to draft you.
How are you going to sell yourself 32 straight times and nail all of them? Like that's a hard ask.
Well, it's like everyone's a hard worker. Everyone's a great teammate. Everyone loves football. They don't have any other hobbies. They just love football. Like, I just feel like there's only so much you can get out of it. I know they have the in-person interviews and what are those called? Visits, like later in the process, but you're only given like 30. And so right, the draft's more than just the first round. There's 32 teams, there's 7 rounds. That's 224 picks plus whatever compensatory picks there are. So we're talking about 250 guys. You got to try to get some base knowledge of these guys. I'm just really skeptical that it's more of a just don't mess this up thing. And if you do mess it up, that's like really, I just feel like the interviews can only like hurt you. And I'm not saying guys shouldn't do it. I'm just saying like I just don't know how much value there is to it.
I mean, if you really like a player, like you said, you're going to have the player visits. You're going to have the potential for them to visit your facility, have more detailed conversations. And I mean, there is something to be said about wanting to make sure you have like a character check on these players. I mean, I remember last year James Pierce was like kind of like touted as like a kind of a character flag, and well, he ended up getting in trouble with the law earlier this year. So I
Now, I
mean,
will say, to be fair, my understanding is the character flaws were more of like not being a great teammate,
but I
not
mean, I mean,
domestic violence battery. Like, I don't know what we could have found out about his thoughts on that and how he treats women in a 15-minute interview, and if he's an actual danger to society.
but you still want to get a handle on character. I mean, come on. I mean, that's still like something that I
I don't
think is,
like I don't like hearing he's a bad teammate, but I hear some people say, "Oh my gosh, why are you surprised? We knew this about him." No, we didn't know that he was a threat to other women. Like, let's kind of calm it down a little bit.
bad guy. He's a bad guy. No, I'm just kidding. No, but so yeah, I mean, I do think that still finding out if someone's got good character is important. I mean, if that was the case, I mean, look at Johnny Football. I mean, you tell me the Browns didn't do enough homework to figure out that something was up, with Johnny
Yeah,
Football. I mean, they still took him.
I
So
don't trust the Browns.
yeah, I guess not. But I think 15 minutes just isn't enough time to make that, decision, or to make a like a distinctive decision on somebody, like if you truly think they're like, worthy of your organization. But like I said, like they probably, like if something really turns them off, they might just say, hey, maybe we might want to look into the character of this guy. But you're going to probably have way more in-depth conversations when you actually visit the facilities. I don't know how many player visits you get, but
I think you only get 30, so you don't just pick the 30 best guys.
yeah.
You gotta you typically pick guys, across the range of the rounds, different positions, maybe positions of need. Maybe guys who have just additional questions that you may want to ask. Not, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good or a bad thing.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just
The draft doesn't end after the first round. So I mean, like you don't want to
right.
pick the first 30 guys and then like, because there's going to be guys all up and down the draft board you're targeting, and you want to make sure
Now,
you have some idea who they are.
Is there a correlation between guys who get drafted by Team X and if they had a top 30 visit? I'm sure there is. But that doesn't, it's not 100%. It's not here are the 30 guys on the Cardinals big board. These are all of our picks. I just don't know which ones.
Well, you know what's funny? Last year, I don't think any of the top 3 picks on the Eagles actually had a top 30 visit with them. I don't think Jahad Campbell ever stepped foot in
Now
Novacare.
that seems a little uncommon. Like that might be a little
That was weird.
uncommon.
Like
Like
that was weird. I think we had a history of kind of doing the opposite. And it either means that like they frazzled and didn't know what to do when the draft pick came up, or like they were like, "Oh my God, this guy's here. We didn't think he'd be here. We got to take him. We didn't even think he had a
right.
chance to like actually be here. So we're not going to spend a top 30 draft visit on him."
That's part of the
And
calculus. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the idea. I mean, another draft day guy who I think really stood out. I think there were 2 running backs that really stole the show. It was Mike Washington, I think his name was, and Jeremiah Love. Those 2 guys. I mean, Jeremiah Love is definitely the more highly touted of the 2. He's been kind of the number 1 running back since basically the college season started. I don't really know if anyone really challenged him for that. But Mike Washington Jr. really like asserted himself as one of those Raz freaks. So like in the running back position, I mean, that's kind of one of those positions that you could translate Raz to what the position's asking for. Because really, the physicality of the running back position is a big part of if you succeed or not. So I think someone's going to really take a shot on Mike Washington Jr. I don't know where his draft stock was before, but definitely there's no way he didn't improve it. So I could definitely see him as someone who ends up being someone who at least a lot of like fantasy players really value in like dynasty leagues, because those height, weight, speed guys really seem to get the attention of a lot of players in dynasty and fantasy. But Jeremiah Love is someone who, gosh, I mean, his hype over the past 2 weeks is just really like skyrocketed. I mean, I remember where he was like, yeah, middle of the first round, he's pretty good. He's not as good. He's not Genty, but he's a good running back. But no, it's like, oh, he's a blue chip now. He might go top 5 now. He's better than Genty. Like this is and Genty, as I recall, they were saying he was like generational as well. So like this is a high ascension for a prospect for sure. And he definitely tested well. I think he ran a, like you said, a 4.36, 4.37. That's great
Yeah.
speed for a running back.
Well, he's got good size too.
Oh my God, what
6
a
foot 212.
he tested so well, and he ran some great Texas routes on the skills position what was it called, the skills position, what am I missing, what was that called, the routine practice, I don't know what's it called when they run that exercise, yeah, the Texas route exercise. I blanked out for a second. But no, he's got great feet, makes quick sudden movements, great spin move. Apparently I saw one of his only like flaws is that he kind of gets lost in the middle a little bit. Like the inside running isn't as polished as his outside running. But again, this is paragraph season. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean it's interesting what you're saying because I think we always knew he was taking positional value out of it. He's probably like a top 15, top 10 overall player. But yeah, what you don't want to do is count the combine twice, and that means if you look fast on film, and then he runs a fast 40, don't give him double credit. And so sometimes that's what it feels like. It's like, well, we already knew he was fast. Now you just put a number to it. So why did he rise? Like if he was your 10th player, now he's your 3rd, but all it did is just confirm the priors. Like nothing. So like don't count it twice. But yeah, it seemed like last week he was a top 10 player. He's probably going to go in that 7 to 9 range.
Mm-hmm.
And then he does everything we expected. Now he might be the 3rd player taken in the entire draft. And we didn't learn really anything new.
I love the combine.
We just kind of confirmed what we already knew.
Listen, people love confirming what they believe. they love feeling like they're right. And that makes this happen.
Yeah.
I mean, oh, I like this player. He turns out he's good. Oh, I love him more.
We had Ashton Genty last year, and there was a lot of hype for Genty as well. I mean, would you say Genty was as hyped as Bijan Robinson?
I think that, honestly, I mean, listen, hand up. I had the first overall pick in Dynasty last year, so I had a lot of, reason to pay attention to Ashton Genty. I think that Ashton Genty, just from his stellar college game career, like he was ripping off 250-yard games every week, I think the hype was on Bijan's par. I don't know if he was considered as good of a prospect, but I think the hype was there just because of the season he had in college. Bijan didn't have that kind of season. He was more of like, and he had a great season in Texas, don't get me wrong, but he was more of like, this is, the prospect, like a super good prospect for the NFL. And, he deserved that, title. But Genty was just like, if I remember correctly, he wasn't going into the year like some uber can't miss blue chipper. He just, became a god in the first half of the season and just kind of carried it through with like tons of broken tackles and 200-yard games. And then scouts were like, dude, this guy's a tree trunk. He doesn't go down. And then that just carried through all the way through the draft process.
The one thing about him is he played at Boise State, so the competition was a question mark. Bijan played at Texas, so to be fair,
those SEC defenses actually. Sorry, wait, those are SEC.
Was it the SEC at the time? Actually,
how long has he been in the NFL?
Was this not year 3? So he's been in the league for 3 years. I think that was Big 12.
Wow. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, well, a little bit of worse defenses, but still.
Right. Yeah, and then, I guess even before Bijan, I mean, who was the, last great running back prospect?
Saquon, probably.
It was Saquon? Okay. I was higher on Saquon than both Bijan and Genty.
Well, Saquon just looked different than, everyone. I mean,
you could see his thighs. And they were like fire hydrants.
I mean, I wasn't around for Bo Jackson, but I was getting like Bo Jackson like vibes.
Yes.
Like this guy's just a freak.
Right.
He just looks weird. Like, he looks different than everyone else. Whereas Bijan was just like prototypical stud, all around great running back, great receiver. I mean, I remember the thing about him was like he could be a great receiver, just as much as a great receiver as he is running back, which has bode true in the NFL. I mean, like, he's a great receiver out of the backfield. He gets 100-yard games, periodically. So, so I mean, all these running backs who tend to
Okay, well,
have
how
that.
about this? Let's switch out Jeremiah Love and Ashton Jeanty. So now Ashton Jeanty's in this draft instead of Jeremiah Love. Are we talking about him going third to the Cardinals?
Where'd Jeanty go?
He went 6 to the Raiders.
I'm not saying, like, I mean, is 6 and 3 that much of a difference? I don't think that's that big of a jump.
So you think Jeanty would be getting some Cardinals talk?
Yeah. I mean, I'm biased, but yeah.
Did Jeanty run a 40?
He didn't. I don't think he ran one.
That's my only question mark.
Got that long speed.
I think if you're going to get top 3 consideration, you got to run a sub.
Tanner, don't count it twice. What are you doing? You're doing the same thing. You literally just did the thing you said you shouldn't be doing. Don't count it twice.
No. What I'm saying is, I think it takes a good 40, or that.
But you already knew he's fast. You just said you already knew he's fast. And what do you mean it takes a good 40? Who cares?
No, with this specific skill, I think in order to go in the top 5 as a running back, now I understand he went 6, so he's like just off the range.
What a loser.
Well, remember, if you're picking third, you're a bad team, and so you probably don't have many good players.
I don't want him going third.
I'm just saying. I think to go that high, I do like. I understand 3 and 6. It's not that far off, but also a top 3 pick, like that's foundational, and so you're gonna have probably that big playability, which I don't think Jeanty had necessarily. Yes, he broke a lot of tackles. But if you don't have that, it's a lot harder to break a 60-yard run on 10 broken tackles than it is to just, offensive line blocks it perfectly. You just got to run right through it.
Oh, no. I mean, I definitely think Jeremiah Love's the faster player. And I don't think.
Yeah. I'm just not sure. I think Love has that one additional element.
That extra gear.
That Jeanty does not have.
But
so to answer your question, I guess it was my question. To answer my question, I don't think Jeanty would have been considered at 3.
But do you think that Jeremiah Love can break the kind of tackles and shrug off guys at the level of Jeanty? I think they're 2 different runners. I mean, like, you could argue that Jeanty has that one thing that Love doesn't.
No, I see what you're saying, because you're just alternating a skill then.
Yeah, I mean, and it was proven in the NFL this year that he made a lot of guys miss. I mean, like, it wasn't just something that showed up. And I guess we're comparing to an NFL player too, because you said it was a different level of competition, but he did make a lot of guys miss in the NFL. Like, he broke a lot of tackles. So, I mean, like, I think he was like top 5 in the league in broken tackles, and that's the NFL. So he obviously does have the ability to like shrug dudes off at any level. Now, the top speed is the top speed, but let's be real. The Raiders' offensive line is crap. So when does he have the opportunity to get to top gear? Ever. Never. That's the answer.
Well, I think at Boise State he proved that he didn't have that elite tier.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're 2 different guys. I mean, I think Jeremiah Love is totally worthy of, top 5-ish pick. I don't know. I need to see more Jeremiah. I've seen some crazy runs from him when he like breaks a tackle, spins, contact balance, and takes off for 70 yards. I mean, he was going off at the end of the year, so he definitely is worthy of the hype. I just find it interesting that he started at like 15 and now he's like pew, all the way up to like the top 5. It's like, okay, like you said.
Right, but where did we do that with Jeanty? Did Jeanty start at 6?
I don't think so. I think he kind of did the same thing. Yeah.
It sounds like you're just jealous that I have the top pick this year and I essentially have Jeremiah Love, who's better than Ashton Jeanty.
No,
and you're mad that he went to the Raiders.
No. Just wait. No. Just wait, because you. It's so funny watching you so happy right now because you haven't gotten the horror of watching on draft night and waiting to see where your number, because you have the number 1 pick, so you basically have the rights to him if you want him, and waiting to see your running back that is technically yours, even though the fantasy draft hasn't happened, go to someone who you know won't do well for your prospect. Like, he's not going to help your position. So it's great. Oh, he's a great prospect now. Just wait. Wait until he goes to the Giants. Wait until he goes to, or like the Cardinals.
Might not make it to the Giants.
Wait until he goes to a team that's just like not going to be able to maximize his ability. You have a 2-back running back system, and see, everything changes once you're putting a bad offensive system, because all of a sudden your top blue chip running back isn't the guy we all thought he was. So we'll just see. We'll see. We'll save that for another pod. We'll have to do like a Genty versus Love debate pod or something. But I think my last point before we wrap up the combine, and for those who are still sticking around with combine talk, I commend you because you guys are soldiers. I think that the 40-yard dash, what we kind of talked about earlier, a lot of we get hyped for good 40s, and I think for some positions it matters more. I think for defensive players it matters a lot. I think for even offensive linemen, I think burst. There's some like burst things that I think help with like how mobile alignment is. Think like Jason Kelsey's types who can kind of pull and get out in front. Defensive linemen, the burst that you can get from your lower half kind of shows up in like bull rushes and pass rushes. So like it does translate. But I do think one position that I think gets a little bit over like hype is receiver, which I think is weird because that's like the one where you think would translate the most, because what do? Run and catch the ball. So you see 40-yard dashes and you're like, oh, that means they're going to get open more because they run faster than the guy that's covering them. But there was a ranking that I saw the other day. It was the top 25 wide receiver 40-yard dashes and combine history. And I think I already told you this, but Tanner, do you remember how many guys had 1,000-yard seasons?
Was it like 2?
It was 2. Yeah. One of them was like Jalen Waddle, and the other one was, I think, Tyreek Hill. So like there's not that, and I think there's maybe, I may have had one more on top of that, but the crux of the thing was wide receiver speed, especially elite speed, does not translate to production on the field. It just doesn't. And I think it's kind of like showing up in like how the receivers, the really good receivers that are in the league now are like, kind of molded. I feel like the age of like JSNs and Amon-Ra St. Browns and, who else could you even put in that category? Just, I guess Devontae Smith to a lesser degree. You know what I mean? Like those route runner types who kind of run in like the mid 4.4, 4.5 ranges, but are like extremely good route technicians with good hands. I guess Stephon Diggs would have hit that category like back in his prime. But that's kind of where like the receiver position is going. And it's very interesting to see how like speed isn't necessarily like the best utilized tool in their toolbox. I mean, what do you think about that, Tanner? How speed isn't necessarily like the be all end all at receiver as much as you would think.
I think if you look at the Cardinals' best receivers in team history, I don't think any of them were Blazers. My favorite's Anquan Bolden. Imagine if this weekend somebody ran a 4.71.
He ran a 4.71. He wouldn't even be drafted.
Right? Yeah, he would be taken off the board for a lot of teams. But imagine saying no to Anquan. Like,
that's a borderline.
He was awesome.
I mean, he's a Hall of pretty good.
Right. He's a Hall of very good. Yes.
Wow, that's insane.
Looking up the Fitz number, it ranges between 4.48 and 4.65. I don't know why there's such a discrepancy, but let's be generous. 4.48. That's actually probably pretty good for someone his size. He's a bigger guy. I don't think DeAndre Hopkins had an amazing 40-yard dash either. So, no, to your point, I'm not saying we should root for slow wide receivers, but I wouldn't get too caught up in it.
No, not at all. So I guess moving on, I think we're ready to kind of put a fork in the
Well, I
column.
want to actually,
What do you
we
want
spent
to
a
say?
lot of time on the 40-yard dash and probably way too much time. I want to talk about arm length a little bit and wingspan
Ooh, okay, yeah.
because there's a stat that I found that was just fascinating. So
What'd you find
I
out?
think going into it, a lot of people would say that Reuben Bain Jr., the edge rusher out of Miami,
Oh,
was
that's
one
why
of
we're
the
talking about this. I'm just
was
kidding.
one of the best defensive players in the entire country this last year. And you could see it on film. He's a power rusher. He wins with strength. Well, he comes and measures in at 30 inches and 7/8 of an inch arm length. The reason why that's interesting is it's not that no one's ever been drafted with less than 31-inch arms. This is a guy who has aspirations to go in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
No one under 31 inches has ever gone at edge rusher. No one's ever gone in the top 3 rounds with those arms.
Wow.
So he will go in the top 3 rounds. He will go in the first round. So he will, I guess, make history and he will break that trend. But the first 3 rounds for a guy who I think has consideration as high as number 2 overall. And I just think that blows my mind. We actually might have 2 guys. I think his name's like Cassius Howell. He's another guy who apparently his short arms showed a little bit more on film from what I've heard. And that actually might dock him maybe to the second round. But still, there's 2 guys right there who are likely going to break this trend of no one in the top 3 rounds with that
Short
arm
arms.
length.
Short arms definitely seem to be a trend that are affecting NFL draft.
I
draft
put some
profiles.
value onto it. If you were going to punch somebody,
No, you're right. Yeah.
if you're actually going to fight someone and you're going to try to, land a punch on them, the person with longer arms is going to have the advantage because they're going to be able to reach you before you could reach them.
And honestly, what is a line on the NFL? Just one big car crash where arms are going towards other arms. So,
Yes,
so I mean that,
exactly.
yeah. So I mean, the offensive lineman with longer arms is going to get that point of impact faster than he's going to be able to do anything against him. So that's a very
So
interesting
it does
point.
matter. Now what I would say, and this is not like, Tanner Scout, but like I've heard the idea is yes, you would prefer to have longer arms. Is it impossible to overcome? No. But your margin of error is just less. And so you have to be able to win based off, technicality and, maybe speed or power, which in this case, Reuben Bain might be one of the stronger edge rushers. So still high on him. I'm not sure I would take him at number 3 because I think there's other players I would consider. But I just thought it was fascinating that he came in and he got measured under 31-inch arms, and that just would break a ton of trends if he were to succeed.
Well, didn't Josh Simmons, the lineman for was it the
Chiefs?
Patriots? No,
Oh,
who's
Will
the guy?
Campbell.
Will Campbell. Sorry, Will Campbell had the short arms. Did they both have short
So
arms? Who had
so
short?
the thing with Will Campbell is that not only did he have short arms, he also had a short wingspan, which includes your shoulder width.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, you know, I guess if you're going to have shorter arms or a shorter wingspan, maybe
Have him further
hopefully
out.
if you have short, if you have like a narrow shoulder, maybe you got long arms to like overcome that. And the problem with Will Campbell is he had neither.
He's literally just a T
And
Rex.
so the idea is to stop a guy and get in his way from getting to your quarterback. So the smaller you are, the less you have to run around in theory. So and sometimes that split second could be the difference between a strip sack or a completion or a touchdown. So yeah, I mean it does matter.
That's interesting because I do think like a lot of these players do tend to fall because of these like size limitations that they might have. I mean, I remember when Devontae Smith was drafted. I mean, like size for him was like the main concern. If you were to just look at his play on the field and just think to yourself, all right, just take the play, take everything that's not just his size into account, he'd be like easily a top 5 pick.
Devontae
And
Smith, you said?
Devontae Smith, yeah,
Yeah.
and he was weighing in at 160. I mean, like, this is a receiver who was very small for the NFL, like 1 percentile size, and he was skinny. Like, it didn't even look like, he wasn't like, he was
Well, he was
tall, but very
6 feet.
lanky.
He's 6 feet tall. He's
Yeah.
got good height,
So it got
but
good height, but he's
obviously he
lanky.
looked thinner.
He's just super lanky. So, and
Yeah,
they were just worried that, big corners would just bully him off the line. He wouldn't be able to get separation. But like you said, it's possible to overcome those things if you're like at a size disadvantage. You just have
I
to win with
understand.
other traits.
I understand you're using him as an example. He won the Heisman as a receiver from the SEC. I wasn't worried at all. If he came from Boise State,
Really?
if he was Ashton Genty's teammate, I would have way more concern. I
You weren't
guarantee
worried
you.
at all? Wow, like at all.
He won the Heisman.
Oh, a lot of guys win the Heisman with production and just fly out in the NFL. Back in the day, it happened a lot.
Right. Okay. So, like, what's a good example? Like Tim Tebow? So he won a
Yeah.
Heisman. Yeah, but he can't throw.
Weren't there like was Colt McCoy a Heisman?
He didn't win a Heisman, but I think he got invited. Like he's
Tim
okay.
Bradford?
That's fair. He's in the realm of
Tim Bradford?
Bradford did win a Heisman.
Yeah. Yeah, so like, I mean, they don't always succeed. Like it's
Well, hold on. So it's because of they didn't have the skill set. It wasn't a size impediment. Is my point.
I guess
There
I
was
guess.
nothing I remember seeing out of Devontae Smith that suggested his low weight was going to be a deterrent from him being successful. He
Really?
did it at the highest level and was voted on as being the most outstanding player.
Well, dang, that's a good eye for talent. I wanted Jamar. It's a completely different receiver.
Well, you started with the 6th pick.
Oh, I know. It was great.
That was fun because there was a lot of juggling between the 3rd, the 6th, and the 12th pick, I believe,
Yep.
right?
Oh yeah, we were like, we're gonna get Kyle Pitts, and then Kyle Pitts went like 3.
Oh yeah,
Ugh.
I think all you wanted was either Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase, and they went 4-5.
Oh yeah, Devontae was.
So then,
definitely
luckily, you had already traded back to 12, so you wouldn't
consolation
have to
prize.
feel that.
All right, so I think we're ready to move on from the combine. I think it was fun.
I think we have to, yeah.
Yeah. So just a quick update on our teams. Little bird tidbits here.
Bird droppings.
Yeah, bird droppings. There's been more reporting about AJ Brown. I don't know who's been like staying up to date on this, but AJ Brown has definitely, the situation's deteriorated. It does seem as though that the teams are gearing up to offer the Eagles trade packages, and apparently there were reports saying that AJ Brown's agent was at Indianapolis, kind of like doing recon and trying to gauge the market without the Eagles, like, not that they didn't have permission, but like, he was like acting on their own, basically trying to gauge independent interest from AJ's agent's perspective. So there is a desire from AJ Brown to leave. I mean, that's just, the truth right now. And Howie Roseman, being a good general manager, is doing everything he can to field offers and seeing what he can get. Problem is, now the teams know that despite all the Howie Roseman, glazing of AJ Brown and how great he is, and trying to do a lot of positive pub, trying to make him sound like he's a great teammate, teams are starting to become very aware of the situation and how AJ Brown just does not want to be on the Eagles, despite what Howie says. So I'm worried. I'm a little worried now. I thought that there was a chance we could kind of juice this up to a first-round pick. My initial status was second-round pick, and I think I kind of got excited with the idea of like a bidding war between teams. But now that I think they have the understanding that like they don't want to bring the Eagles might not want to bring AJ back, considering all of this like controversy it's going on around like the potential feelings of how he feels about being on the team. Maybe that's like lowering the value, almost like, well, why should I trade you anything? Like you clearly don't want him on your team. We'll just wait for you to cut him if it's that bad of a situation. So I'm a little worried that that's kind of like killing the market, but we'll see.
Here's my thing, because we talked a little bit about this last week and what we would expect in return for an AJ Brown trade. And I kind of said like I would probably take a second. I think you and Brett were more firm on taking a first. I don't think you guys are necessarily wrong for thinking that, because from the Eagles' perspective, which is what Howie has to do, given the cap ramifications of cutting or of trading him, why would you not? Like, why would you take a lesser pick? It's a double whammy. Like you're already having to eat a lot of dead cap.
And then you're getting a worse
So in
pick.
order to do that, I need to justify doing that by getting a higher pick. But from another team's perspective, the thought is, well, that's not my problem for you to figure. That's for you to figure out.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're wrong for like saying I'm not doing this for anything less than a first. But what I think this tells us is it's a very difficult contract to trade, and
It is.
I just don't think it's happening.
Wow, so you're still in the market of it not happening.
I don't think it happens. My understanding of the AJ Brown carousel or the roller coaster is that every time it goes up, it goes down, and every time it goes down, it comes back up. And I just, I could be wrong. He could like lose his mind next week. And
You think it's just all talk?
I think the desires for a trade are real. I think AJ probably wants to be a more featured receiver, and he's not in a way that he can't be in Philadelphia. And I think the Eagles, while I do believe Howie when he says we don't want to trade good players, there is like a roster construction to this where you got to pay some guys coming up. You got to pay Jalen Carter.
Of course.
You got to pay Cooper DeJean. You got to pay Quinyon Mitchell. You know, we want to keep Nakobe Dean. I mean, we are losing some guys like, you know, not that he's the best player in the world, but like the Reed Blankenship types.
Oh, yeah, the glue players. You need those guys.
You know, Jordan Davis needs to get re-signed. You know, the offensive, like trying to keep this offensive line together, convincing them not to retire because they lost their coach. Like, sure, you don't want to lose good players, but if it means like keeping someone else, I understand why you're like, hey, now, you know, let's go ahead and get something for him now while we can. So I think the desire is there on both sides. I just don't think the timing is. And so
yeah, it is bad timing. I mean, we were kind of hoping that. I mean, I had the feeling that like eventually, just the idea that we had two receivers paid a good contract, that one of them would have to go because of just how our roster is constructed. Eventually, the tide would turn to the defense, and we just have to start paying the defensive players. I thought that eventually we would have to pick one of either Devontae Smith or AJ Brown to keep long term, when one of their contracts expired. I just didn't think it'd be this quickly, which is very.
He got an extension right before last draft, right? Or no?
Yes, he was.
Okay, so yeah. we're only a year into the extension.
Yeah,
and let me rephrase that. The extension added on top of the current deal.
Yeah.
Only 1 year has passed since he signed the extension. So yeah, I'm not even sure we're in the extension years. And that's what makes it so difficult. These deals are harder to trade the earlier they are into the deal. They're typically easier at the back end.
Yeah, and they are typically easier at the back end. We're just so early on that all that cap is just going to spring back like a rubber band and smack us in the face, which sucks. But I guess this is the way it is. And, you know, maybe Howie's got a trick. I don't know if he can fix that trick. It doesn't seem like a trick he can fix right now. It seems like something that's pretty straightforward. But I don't know. That's kind of where we're at in the A.J. Brown situation. I think one of the reporters said the Eagles are going to look to make a decision in the next 10 days. I think that was like 4 days ago I saw that. So in the next week or so, we're either going to know that AJ is an Eagle, hopefully, or he's going to be traded. I still put the odds that he's traded at 65%, whereas last week I was more like 80%. But I am starting to get the worry that like there's not a chance they would cut him, right? Because all that cap hit would still hit at the same moment, right? It would be just like a trade if we released him, right? It'd be the same type of mechanism.
Usually they're at least very similar.
You could do post June releases, so that could help with that. But
All that does is it spreads the dead cap. In
Yeah.
total, it's still the same, but you spread it over the length, um, over 2 years.
You don't think Howie would do that? Because he loves spreading cap hits. Like that would be a worry of mine that
Well,
he
the
would do
idea
it.
is if you're going to take a $20 million cap hit, 20 million this year is more than 20 million next
Because
year
it's a smaller
because
percentage of the total cap.
percentage of the pie is bigger this year.
Yeah.
So that's why teams like to restructure and create void years, which it actually drives me insane. I get the idea, but you're still taking away from the future. That's $10 million you don't have next year to spend. So it's I just
Dude, the
I don't
Eagles
know.
do not care about that, man. Like they will max
Steve
out their
Keim
credit
was
card.
really bad about that. He would get guys in and he'd be like, "Hey, like this is awesome. We got JJ Watt, and oh look, he's only $6 million against the cap, but then he's like 14 and he's not on the roster because it's a void year." It's like,
Yeah.
ew, like
Yeah,
that's
no.
gross.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we got guys from like 4 years ago that we're still paying. Or not paying but have a penalty for. I don't know if it's technically we're paying them. I don't think that's how that works, but we're technically on the books for that, which is
Yeah,
it sucks. But listen, hey, if there's anything in the world I trust, it's Howie Roseman with the cap. So whatever he decides doing financially, I'm just gonna assume that's gonna work out for us.
I would actually add Jeffrey Lurie as well to that combination. Like, I trust both of them.
Yeah.
I
So
promise you. I think as great as Howie is, if all of a sudden the Cardinals hired him, I don't know he has the same amount of success because he's got a
yeah.
different ownership
I
and a
mean, at
different
the end
credit
of the day,
card.
like when you have these signing bonuses and restructures, it takes Jeffrey Lurie going to the players and saying, "Hey, here's like $30 million." So I mean, like, not a lot of
Right.
owners would just be like, "Yeah, you want $15 million right now? Let me just cut you a check." I don't think a lot of owners. I mean, sure, most do, but some don't. So it's definitely a thing.
Random question: where did Jeffrey Lurie get his wealth from? Is he actually from
He,
Hollywood or
yes, I
like
do
from
think he's a
film?
movie. He's a movie guy. I don't know exactly like what specifically he got into or what his production company is, but I know it's like movies and film.
That's interesting.
And
Okay.
it's funny. He's actually preparing his son Julian Laurie to kind of take over the business. So I think they're preparing to kind of do like a kind of like the Cardinals, like a family ownership transition type thing, which I think a lot of
Yeah,
teams
but we
do.
like Jeff. I mean, look, Son could be crazy. I have no idea,
Oh,
but
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Bill Bidwell was not a highly, I don't want to say respected, but he was very lowly thought of,
I think he's
at
like
least
our
from the
age.
players.
I think Julian Laurie's like our age. Imagine like us being like,
Really?
yeah, or maybe
I
like
can't.
40. Yeah, maybe like 40. That'd be crazy. Well, I
I
mean,
mean,
Stephen
imagine being
Jones.
7 years away from like potential like ownership talk.
Wow,
That's
that's
awesome.
crazy. But yeah. So let's move on to Kyler. I know you've been kind of like scared to talk about that, but I'm just kidding. But but I heard I saw on the news today while I was running on the treadmill that they're going to release him. Is that true?
If I had to place a bet, if he was going to get cut or if he was going to get traded, I lean towards getting cut. I'm not the one scenario is that he's just not coming back. I'm very certain of that. But I just think the contract is going to be a little too difficult for someone to take on. And the way it works is simply put, he's guaranteed $20 million next year's salary if he's still on the team by March 15th. And so what teams are doing is they're going to use that against the Cardinals and say, "We know you don't want to guarantee that 20 million in salary next year. So you need to make a decision on him before March 15th. We'll wait you out." And the Cardinals are going to say, "Well, no, we're not going to do a deal on the 16th because then that 20 million is guaranteed. We don't want to be responsible for that." So this is where the supply demand issue comes in. There's actually going to be a handful of quarterbacks who actually might sign for the veteran minimum because they have guaranteed money already on their contract. And the way it works is typically if you have guaranteed money, it just offsets on your next contract. So then the next team has no incentive to offer anything more than the veteran minimum. Very similar to the Russell Wilson deal with the Broncos when he signed with the Steelers. He signed a minimum deal with the Steelers, and then the Broncos paid him all that guaranteed to be on the Steelers. So it seems likely. The best hope, though, is that there's a team who doesn't want to be left standing when the music stops playing, like musical chairs. So you look at a team like the Vikings, they're probably the most attractive quarterback destination, whether it's for Kyler, Justin Fields, Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins. Who else am I missing? Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, there's a handful of guys who probably, if they got to pick their choice, they would choose Minnesota. But then you look at a team like the Jets, who probably could even be the Cardinals, honestly, who might have the least appeal. The fear from a Jets perspective is, we've talked about how Aaron Glenn is a future fired coach. Like, he's a dead man walking. Can he afford to just take a Geno Smith or a Jimmy G?
No, he can't.
Or whatever's left over.
Mm-mm.
And while you might have your concerns with Kyler, I think you could argue that a team like the Jets, probably he does give them a better chance to win, or better yet, a better chance to save your job. And if you're afraid, if you're the least appealing job, you don't want to be left standing.
Exactly.
It may be worth going ahead and guaranteeing you have a date to the dance kind of a thing. So at the end of the day, the Jets have always been the team I'm looking at for a Kyler destination via trade. I just don't know. And so we might not get an answer until, what's today, March 2nd? We still may be like we're still 2 weeks away. So I don't know. I mean, there's a huge, and when it comes to the salary cap, this is where it is a little bit different. There is a huge difference between cutting Kyler and then trading him. If you trade Kyler, I think you save $31 million on the cap. If you cut him, it's actually a minus $2 million. So for those Cardinal fans who would say, oh, a 7th round pick, Kyler's worth way more than that. In this scenario, it's not about the draft compensation you get back in return. It's about getting the $30 million in cap space so you can spend that on your next quarterback, maybe Malik Willis. Right? Like, and I'm not even sure Malik's going to get 30 million. If I had to guess, he's probably going to get about between 20 to 28. That would be my guess. And I do think the Cardinals are the favorites here. A lot of people are pointing at the Dolphins because they took the Packers coach and defensive coordinator and general manager and made them, their leadership. But what I don't think people understand is Monty Ossenforth actually drafted Malik Willis. Well, he was part of the group in Tennessee.
What? Yeah,
he was part of the group in Tennessee who drafted Malik. Nathaniel Hackett was the quarterback's coach for the Packers last year.
Who had Malik Willis.
Uh-oh. And then Mike LaFleur is the younger brother of Matt LaFleur, head coach of the Packers.
Oh, no.
So it cracks me up when people are linking it. Like, oh, look, that his defensive coordinator went to Miami. He's probably got a great relationship. Doubt that. Like, I just don't think – I don't think the relationship's going to be as strong as it is with the younger brother of the head coach, the quarterback coach, and the guy who was part of drafting him. Like, I feel like the Cardinals are probably the favorite to get Malik Willis. But to go back to Kyler, it would be a lot easier if we took the cap savings from a Kyler trade and just simply applied it to Malik than having to pay for both guys at once. So we'll see. I mean, like I said, I don't think we're going to get an answer within the, next hour or next day or so, but it's definitely worth, monitoring.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess without going into too crazy of like free agent previewing for next week, because let's be real, there's going to be so many things that get fired at us next week that like there's really no way to truly preview a free agent class because there's just going to be like hell on earth as soon as next week kind of rolls around. If you were to like kind of give me like a top position beside, I mean, I guess quarterback is obviously your guys' top position, but I would say by this time next week, you hope that the Cardinals sign and prioritize what position besides quarterback. Go.
It's got to be offensive line.
Yeah.
I like what we have at left tackle. I think we got a foundational guy in Paris Johnson. I like what we got in Yoda Froholt, our center. But it's the 2 guard spots and the right tackle position that really have me concerned. And that's all it takes. It doesn't. I mean, you could have 4 out of 5 guys who are great, but it just takes that weak link. Unfortunately, I think we have 3 weak links. I mean, sometimes it's tricky because I don't think teams usually let go of, or they let good offensive linemen walk. So the free agent market's not typically the place to go to fix your offensive line need. There's a handful of veteran guys where, look, given our quarterback question mark, we may not be the most desirable place, but there's some interesting vets, like guards and even some right tackles that I think we could take a look at. But that's my number one spot. It's just offensive line. Feel pretty good, and we got the 3rd overall pick. We were tied for the worst record in the league. We have holes.
Yeah.
But to me, the obvious place is you got to fix that offensive line.
So I was considering mine earlier today, and it changed after I saw a report. I was under the impression that safety would be my biggest concern because I kind of expected Reed Blankenship to like maybe test the market and go to Dallas with Christian Parker.
Yep.
And our safety depth is thin, but I saw that Dallas Goedert is, and again, this was reported by Matthew Berry. Didn't know he had like a big like.
I'm seeing a lot of Matthew Berry.
When did he start like becoming Mr. Adam Schefter? Like I was like the Matthew Berry, like that guy. Yeah, I saw like 2 or 3 reports, but one of his reports were like Dallas Goedert is more likely to leave Philadelphia than stay. And I was like, oh, well, that's a problem because I mean, Dallas Goedert's a fine tight end, probably top 5 tight ends in Eagles history. But the thing is about our tight end room is it's empty. we have zero signed tight ends for next year. So not only are we like, in need of tight ends, we need a couple. And last year, like the tight ends we tried to throw at a wall to hope they stuck, Kyle Granson and Calcaterra and a lot of other guys. I think we had Harrison Bryant for a cup of coffee at training camp. They just weren't good pass blockers or run blockers, and I think they were a major contributor as to why like our run offense just kind of like was bad like from such a historic year the previous year. So I think we need a couple different things at tight end. We need a pass catcher, we need a run blocker. So there's a lot of things that are like on the laundry list that we need to get satisfied at tight end. Like we just don't need one, we need 2 that are good at 2 different things. So that's it's a pretty big idea that is floating in my head right now. So I'm really hoping we target tight end. It doesn't seem like that great of a class. I mean, Kyle Pitts isn't there anymore, and Njoku's kind of just a pass catcher. So they may have to get creative and figure out how to solve this issue. But I would say tight end, someone that or a position I hope we really target next week. I just don't know what it'll look like in terms of
what we do. Those are 2 interesting positions because generally those aren't really the high leverage, high priority position. Safety and tight. I love tight end. Tight end is my favorite position. It's the most football position because you got to be able to block and catch. But typically, like that's not the most important.
Listen, I mean, I would not be considering it a high priority, but we have no tight ends. I'm not trying to make it tongue in cheek like we have like sucky players. I'm saying we have no players right now for next year. Like we can't like bank on somebody or something. Like we have no rostered tight ends next year. I mean, sure, we got some practice squad guys, but like in terms of our active roster, you don't have any. So like I don't know how you can just ignore that. So that's a problem. We need to fix it. I don't care what position it is outside of special teams. It would be huge. That we would. I mean, look, obviously you could say like, oh, offensive line, and we sucked run blocking, but look, Mailata's not going anywhere. Dickerson's not going anywhere. Juergens isn't going anywhere. Lane Johnson's back for another year, and Steen is in his like 3rd year. So maybe you find someone better than Steen, but he wasn't. He was kind of like league average to like slightly below average. I don't think he was like god awful to the point where like you're gonna move on from him right now. Because if you were to find someone better than him, he'd probably cost a ton, honestly, because of just how much like offensive linemen like cost, and he is a cheaper player because he's on his 3rd year of a rookie deal. So I mean, cost wise, it makes sense probably just to keep him around to satisfy the salary cap. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. So is there anything else we want to float around before we do the extra point?
Well, I don't expect the Eagles to be big spenders. I don't think they have much cap space.
No,
If anything, they're probably gonna just try to do their best to retain guys, extend
yeah.
guys, in-house.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm not super pumped for free agency, just because I know we don't have a lot in the wallet right now. So, like, yay, we're gonna go get some scraps. Woo! Like, let's go shop at Aldi. We're gonna go to Aldi for free agency. Can't wait. It's gonna be a fun free agent period. All right, I think we're ready for the extra point.
The extra point.
All right, Tanner. Do you have an extra point, or should I go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So I've been wanting to talk about this for a couple weeks, but the timing wasn't always right. And I mean, I guess it's never a wrong time to talk about my potentially favorite athlete of all time. But I don't know if you noticed, Chris Paul actually retired a couple weeks ago from the NBA.
Yeah.
And it was an under the radar announcement because, as you know, we're in the middle of the season, and so if he retired in the middle of the season, he signed with the Clippers at the beginning of this year. Probably has like a nice. He loves living in LA. He's got a house there. That's where his family is. So he always wanted to be on the West Coast, and he signed a league minimum deal to try to finish out his career. He's known as one of the best leaders of all time. There's this stat where he's played for multiple teams, and there's a stat out there of the win percentage in the first year of joining a team compared to the prior year. Mm-hmm. I mean, and it's staggering. He makes every team better.
Yeah, I remember.
And I think what's so special about him is he kind of looks like me. Like, he's not a big guy in a sport with giants. He managed to play 21 seasons in the NBA, and it wasn't because he was got these physical gifts. And what also made him special was he was the last of a dying breed, and that was just your traditional point guard. You see a lot of guys who initiate the offense. Do it.
Yeah, the facilitators.
Yes. It feels like the guys facilitating the offense these days now are 6'8". They got good ball skills, but the offense is essentially everyone's running and operating around this guy and trying to get him the best look wherever his spots are. And Chris Paul was the opposite. He ran the offense for everyone else, and he made everyone else better. I think that's kind of the definition of a leader, is making everyone else around you better. He had probably one of the most deadly mid-range shots in the game, and maybe not as worth as much as it is now because everyone's shooting threes and layups. But there was a stretch where defenses were actually built around guarding the three-point line and guarding dunks. So it left the middle of the court wide open for him, and so he just took advantage of it. But it was always a shame that he didn't actually win a title, because I think he is a top 5 point guard of all time. And it wasn't because he necessarily shrunk in the playoffs. He's actually one of the best playoff performers of all time. He got bit by the injury bug at the absolute worst times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the stats show he's a 20-10 guy in the playoffs. And this is over a lot of playoff appearances. So, of course, I love Larry Fitzgerald. He and Chris Paul are like in my tier 1 of like favorite athletes of all time. But what's also unique about him is he's actually the one player that I actually followed him over a team, at least until now. I've always been a team guy. And of course, I loved Fitz, but I wouldn't become a Patriots fan if he got traded to the New England Patriots. And so, Chris Paul kind of was like always unique in that sense for me. I later adopted the Phoenix Suns as my team. Coincidentally, the year right before he actually got traded to the Phoenix Suns. So our paths would have crossed anyways at some point. But I knew Chris Paul was on the back end, to use that golf analogy. He was on the back nine of his career, and eventually, without having to give up fandom of basketball, I knew I was going to need to pick a team. And so yeah, it was fun. Those 3 years that he was with the Suns, arguably 3 of the best years in team history. Took them to the NBA Finals in year 1, when I remember the expectations going into that season were just maybe they could make the playoffs, and they go all the way and have a 2-0 lead in the finals. No one ever saw that coming. So it would look it. Unfortunately, we didn't win that year. I don't know. Just kind of wanted to bring them up. It kind of went under the radar because it was in the middle of the season. He was too good of a leader for the Clippers. They couldn't take a little bit of coaching. That was my understanding of the situation. He had a lot of high expectations for guys, and in this era of basketball, I don't think guys are really wanting the same kind of coaching that Chris Paul was willing to provide. So he kind of was like, these guys aren't serious. Like, what am I doing here? So I don't know. I mean, I know you're not the biggest basketball guy, but any
new era.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's good. I've seen your Chris Paul love over the years, and it's so cool. I always thought it was so funny how like you moved out to Arizona, and then like Chris Paul's like, "Yeah, I'm going to Arizona." It's like, oh my God, Tanner, like how did that line up perfectly? Because you're right, you did become a Suns fan, then all of a sudden here comes Chris Paul, and you guys go to the finals. I was like, this is insane. But you guys actually that worked out that well. Like now that was such a cool little moment that you guys had in Arizona. It's a shame that it ended so weirdly in LA for the Clippers, the team that he started it all with. But that's a cool little career. It's a shame he didn't win it all. But I mean, you could argue he's probably like a top 5, top 10 point guard in the league history.
It's definitely top 10. I mean, with these lists, you got to kick someone out of the top 5 if you're going to put someone in. So, I mean, I definitely think he's in the top 10 range. I'm biased, but like,
yeah, I think that's a good.
The fact that you could at least, even if you don't think he's top 5, the fact that I'm sure a lot of people can still make an argument if they really wanted to. So
yeah. So here's my extra point. I have Amazon Prime Video, right? And for subscription services, you pay for your product and you get the product and you get to go see the thing, right? Like streaming services. I hate this thing. I hate this one thing that this service and other services do. You get the service, you get the streaming service, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, here's all these things you can watch on Amazon Prime. And then you see something that pops up, you're like, ooh, that looks really cool. Let me watch that. And it's like, hey, $3.99. Rent it. And I'm like, wait. I already paid you $12 this month. What do you mean I have to pay you for this movie? This is the one movie I want to watch. It's like, no, you got to pay. And then you see like a brand new movie that just came out. Like, oh my God, Amazon teamed up with that. Why are we saying it's like $29.99? It just came out of the movies. Like, you want to watch that? It just came out on the movies. Here's $29.99. I just wish that and it kind of goes back to like microtransactions in video games if you think about it. I just wish that when you like have a product, you get the things in the product.
You have no idea what you just opened up. So about 4 hours ago, I was hoping to complete watching the new MCU Spider-Man trilogy.
Okay.
So I wanted to watch the first one, Homecoming, watch the second one, Far From Home, and then I was pulling it up earlier today so I could watch No Way Home. So I watched the first 2 on Disney Plus, and then I look up. Well, wait a second. Where is it? Technically, Sony has the rights to Spider-Man.
Okay.
So there's a lot of weirdness about who actually gets to distribute. Like you would think Disney would be able to show whatever Spider-Man, and they've actually done a really good job. I think pretty much most Spider-Man films are available on Disney Plus now, except this one. I was hoping to finish I started it this weekend, and I was hoping to finish it tonight.
That
So then
sucks.
what do? Type in, Spider-Man No Way Home streaming options, and it lists, Hulu, Prime Video, all, Stars. So I'm like, hey, I have Prime Video. Click on it. You can rent for $3.99. I'm like, literally the thing you just said happened to me about 4 hours ago.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it
It's
because
not
it
on
adds
Prime
up.
if I have to pay extra. It's
It
not
adds
on
up, dude. It
Prime.
adds up. Like honestly, I wonder if like the amount of money we've spent just renting movies has eclipsed like or has come close to the rental amount that we spend. like
Right.
because I don't know what the per month is. It's probably like $10 or so a month, but like we like to watch about a movie a week at least, you know what I mean? So like those movies are typically not the ones that are free on Prime. So and honestly, like most of those are like kind of old movies that have been out for like 5 years.
So I'm
And
pretty stubborn. Do you actually do you pay to rent it, or do you
oh
just
yeah, we'll do it. We'll do
okay?
it. We'll do
Usually
it.
it turns me off and I just don't do it.
It just depends. It's like if we really wanted to watch it and there's nowhere else, I am guilty of just saying, screw it, like $3.99, whatever, grit your teeth and just do it. And then you just get the movie. But I like here's one thing that was funny, and you gotta shop around. Like I wanted to watch the new Predator movie, and there was options. You could get it on Amazon Prime for like $4, but then I kept looking on others, and for Hulu, it's free. And I'm like, oh, so that's stupid. I could have paid $4 on one service, for something I could have gotten free on the other service. But why is that a thing? Like, I feel like it would. Like, why can Amazon charge the $4 but Hulu doesn't? Like, what's the difference there? If it's four on there, why is it? I don't know. It's stupid. I hate all these like licensing and who decides what and then they get to pull things off the digital libraries and they just blip out of existence. And those people that you would go over people's houses and you would just see like walls of DVDs. I feel like every once in a while you run into those types of families. You walk in and they're just like an excessive amount of DVDs. Usually smells like cigarettes in there. um and you're just like, there's no way, like, how'd they get all those DVDs? Like, and back then, DVDs weren't cheap. You know what I mean? So, like, each DVD back in the day when it was like,
25 bucks.
yeah, they were $25. You're thinking, it's like, where are, like, you're not rich. Like, where did all this money come from? Like, are you just spending all of your paycheck on DVDs? Like, what is happening? But you know what? Who's laughing now? They are. Like, I mean, they're probably coughing because of the cigarettes, but like, they're laughing and coughing, and hopefully they're still alive. I don't even know who I'm talking about. Like, I don't have any specific person in mind. I just remember like a vivid memory of walking into someone's house and having a wall of DVDs. But like, those movies are theirs. Like, they can watch those whenever they want. And you know what? If I wanted to watch every single one of their movies, I probably couldn't. Probably couldn't, because I don't have access to it, even though I have like a ton of subscription services. All my streaming services can't give me every movie. It's stupid because we pay monthly for it. I go on and
Even
on and
in
on.
the streaming era, I do have like a box set of like the Star Wars movies. I think I
Yeah,
have the Harry Potter stuff. There's a couple, because can you imagine if I had just like got rid of it because I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna watch all of my stuff on Disney Plus, and then all of a sudden Disney Plus either yanks it from you or they skyrocket the price. I can't
dude.
imagine not having access to do a Star Wars marathon weekend. Like,
No,
that's
I
terrifying.
totally get it. I'm an anime fan, so like I remember when I started watching like anime like big time, I would like buy DVD box sets because like back before like streaming was a thing, like you would watch it on a pirate site. But if you wanted to watch it on good quality, you would go get the Blu-ray. You'd get something that's like a actual technical, improvement on just streaming it on your computer on an internet site that's sketchy. But I'm actually really happy I did that and bought those Blu-rays because it's the same issue with anime. Like you could have like your favorite show and they just don't exist on any streaming platform. So like that's the only way you can watch it is if you have it, or you go to those weird streaming services that are like, technically pirates and illegal, and no one ever gets in trouble with that. But still, a lot of the times the quality is not good, and I don't want to go to those websites. But I got those DVDs. Like I could watch Dragon Ball Z whenever I want. In case they ever pull the plug on those shows, I got it. So it's important.
Do I
Physical media
think
is
they
important.
will? No, because I think the Earth would end. However, it's the fact that they could pull it.
It happens though. There are some shows that are lost, like to time.
If a group of shareholders say it is not in our best interest, it is our fiduciary duty to remove this, franchise from our library, they will do it. Like,
oh yeah, they'll do it. Yeah,
and that's
well, you know what's so funny? If you are interested in this is something that came up recently. Tubi, the streaming service that's free, they actually today acquired a vast majority of all of Cartoon Network's like classic cartoons. Like all of their cartoons were like kind of in limbo, like they weren't owned by specific like streaming services. So like if you're a fan of like Dexter's Laboratory, Codename Kids Next Door, Courage the Cowardly Dog, like all those like classic Cartoon Network shows that we grew up on, they're all available on Tubi, which is kind of crazy. Like it's like a laundry list of like Cartoon Network shows, which a lot of streaming services don't have because they're under like copyright or trademarking or whatever. But I just think that's interesting. We went on. We can go on for it. Listen, you know what? Join me and Tanner for our other podcasts that aren't about sports, and you'll be sitting through a lot of crazy stuff. We get reined in because of the NFL talk. There's a lot of other things we could go into on some stuff, and might be a little bit of a different direction. But join us next week on Why Capitalism Sucks. No? Well, there goes our streaming career. So yeah. So next week, guys, just to wrap up, we're going to be covering all the first, second, and third day. I think at that point, third day, free agent coverage. There hopefully will be a good amount of signings, maybe some trades by then.
There should be it. So if we plan on recording next Wednesday,
yeah,
that's at the very tail end of the tampering period, and we'll have stuff to react to.
Oh, it's going to be exciting. I really hope that we got some new people in our buildings, and maybe there'll be a new quarterback in Arizona. Maybe we'll have a nice empty spot where A.J. Brown's locker room is. Maybe we'll have a tight end, maybe not. But it's going to be exciting. It's really the true off season begins next week. I know this week's more of like the combine and we start learning about these rookies, but things start going crazy next week. So we're going to have a lot to cover. And then right after that, we got draft stuff coming up right after that. We're going to do positional breakdowns. It's going to be
we're going to do a lot of mock drafts.
Tons of mock drafts. In fact, I might think like a live mock draft would be really fun to do on we'll go like pick back and forth. That'd be really fun. But yeah, guys, so I'm excited. Thanks for having a good time with us today, talking some NFL Combine. If you really stuck around this long, hopefully you learned a little bit about the Combine. Maybe you give it a watch next year. It's over now, but it is kind of fun to watch and just kind of see. To be honest, I was talking to someone today. It's almost like my version of golf. You can kind of like fall asleep to golf if you just watch
you got the Masters in the background.
Well, it's funny, yeah, because Rich Eisen's talking like this, and that's a good time. 4-1. That's good. See if you can run a little bit faster next time. Oh, look at that. Yeah, they're speaking it's so funny because they're all like macho NFL dudes, and they're giving the golf all right, let's see him do this. Oh, that was a good ball. So I love that. I'm just over there. It's with my chips and dip. Yeah, it's good. So yeah. So thanks for everyone for joining us today. We're gonna have a good time next week talking about free agent signings. And until then, it was Birds Coast to Coast.